Hello everyone, thanks for tuning into today's video. We're going to have a look at the weather for the next 10 to 14 days for today's video. Day 10 will take us to the 31st of January, last day of the month, and we'll be able to extend out beyond that with the extended GFS and ECM ensembles. May run around a couple of weeks. We'll have a look at CFS V2 at the end of the video. Now the next 4 weeks gets us into the second half of February. I'll get to that for you in a moment. Just say that first. Video sets our 6 AM UK weather forecast, and we've also released the extended European outlook as well. Check out those two bits if you like, share, and subscribe on all of today's videos and content. Thanks to everyone for doing that. We're going to be having a look at this named storm in detail. We're going to do a deep dive, I guess, through the high-res models this evening and see, in detail what's being forecast for the storm that is on the way. And that's where we're going to begin this 10 to 14 day. Actually, we're going to begin with the UK Met Office Twitter, or X. So, here we go. Got a named storm, as expected. Hashtag, and I think this is Eowyn, I think it is. Hashtag Storm Eowyn has been named and is forecast to bring strong winds to much of the UK on Friday and into Saturday. Hashtag Weather Aware. Goodness gracious me. Check this out there. This would be animation from the UK Met. There's Eowyn coming in. It sounds a bit like Aaron, doesn't it? Eowyn, I think it is. Pretty strange name. Anyway, there it is coming in from off the Atlantic into northern and western Europe through, it's deep in the Atlantic there through Thursday, and then sweeps in on Friday through to Saturday. Going to bring some very significant amounts of rain to all parts of the country and strong winds, and there will be the prospect of gales in many areas, severe gales up in the north, possibly storm force winds for some parts of Ireland, Scotland. As I said, we're going to take a deep dive into that this evening, and we'll go through the high-res models and see what they're all showing for that storm at the end of the week. So more about that probably about 7:30ish this evening with Stormwatch, Atlantic Stormwatch. Right, okay, well, let's move on to centering temperature. More about that later. Centering temperature is still sitting at 2.5, that is 1.3 degrees below 61 to 1990 average. It's provisional to yesterday to the 20th of January there, so first 20 days of the month, really quite cold. These are the GFS upper air temperature and precipitation ensembles. The next couple of weeks we're looking at Edinburgh today. The red line is the 30-year upper air temperature average for Edinburgh. We're starting off a little bit below average over the next week, despite the return of the Atlantic flow. That's because the jet stream could be on a little bit of a southerly track, and this revving up of the Atlantic, as we explained in yesterday's 10 to 14 day, is being caused by extremely cold air in North America, moving out into the Atlantic and pepping up the jet stream. Now, whilst that cold air will be modified a lot as it comes hundreds and hundreds of miles across the Atlantic to us, it will still be quite a cold air mass for a westerly air mass, I guess. So that's the reason that the upper air temperatures there are a little bit below normal. Into the end of January, first week of February, then the upper air temperature may be becoming a little bit milder. Precipitation-wise, we've got a lot of wet weather to come next day or so. Just about still hang on to the dry weather, but it's on its way out, this drier spell. And the last week or so of January into early February, looking very unsettled then, with some really large precipitation spikes on offer. Temperature anomalies from tropical tidbits looking like this, but up to the 28th of January there. No, this for next week, and we're looking below average Scotland and Ireland with sort of average or close to average temperatures down across southern and southeastern parts of England. If we look at the 6 to 10 day temperature average, gets us to the 31st of January, slightly above average for England, whereas again, not a particularly big deviation though, and still a bit below average actually for Scotland and for Northern Ireland. So this isn't an exceptionally mild Atlantic flow, but we're bringing. There's going to be a lot of polar maritime air masses and air streams and whatnot. Notice really mild with the temperature anomaly across central and eastern parts of Europe, but in terms of the anomaly to average anyway. Precipitation anomalies over the next week looking like that. So largely wetter than average for many parts of the country, especially southern and western regions, perhaps a bit nearer normal, close to average in these eastern areas, but it looks a lot more unsettled than we've had for a while, and actually turns wetter up to day 10. So when we get to the 31st of January, by then it's a generally wetter than average scene through most parts of the UK and also Ireland as well. So we are looking at a much more unsettled spell of weather for this last 10 days or so, last week or so of January, with significant amounts of rain to come. Perhaps the most unsettled spell of the winter so far on the way for the last week of January. Latest wind from that from earthnorthschool.net showed, but we've got plenty of low pressure waiting in the Atlantic and more up here with this system just here. That really is like the cold wave coming out of America into the Atlantic. That's what's going to eventually deliver us this extremely unsettled spell of weather, or very unsettled spell of weather, starting by the end of the week. Batten down the hatches. Right, let's have a look at chart data, then. So, this is our latest UK Met Euro run. It's looking midnight on Friday. Deep low pressure just southwest of the UK and Ireland. That storm Eowyn, if I pronounce that right, that sweeps across the northern half of the country on Friday into Saturday, taking its heavy rain and gales, force winds, severe gale force winds with it as well. That's going a bit quieter later Saturday and Sunday, but we've got to watch this area of low pressure because that one starts to deepen as well, and that could bring another spell of wet and windy weather at some point around the end of the weekend and into the start of next week. I kind of go about nasty area of low pressure that is the name storm, and I'm going to have a detailed look at that. Remember this evening, probably about 7:30, something like that, with high-res models. That moves up to Norway over weekend. Another low though out in the Atlantic. That one deepening, perhaps bringing the risk of some gale or severe gale force winds even further southwards with that one by the end of the weekend and into the start of next week. That's as far as we get, with Icon to midday next Tuesday, 28th of January. And then we're looking showery and quite cool and a little transient ridge, but we've got more low pressures downstream. What about the KMA? How's that one looking? Again, really nasty area of low pressure there, which is Storm Eowyn pushing across the northern half of the country at the end of the week. Goodness gracious me, I think we could be looking at widespread gusts, 60 to 80 miles an hour around the coast, maybe in excess of that for Western Scotland. It looks really, really nasty. Then we've got this next low coming in from off the Atlantic by the beginning of next week. That could bring a proper blow with it as well. And then we've got another one. Look, this is the 30th of January. So by like the last day of the month, KMA is whipping up another really significant storm there. Oh dear. Eventually, by the 2nd of January, as far as we get to with the KMA, we are seeing a slight little transient ridge building up from the southwest, perhaps bringing something a little bit drier, but there is a lot more low pressure in the Atlantic around Greenland, and over towards Canada. That could well develop into another onslaught type pattern. Well, this is how the GFS midnight range is looking. Again, there's that low pressure to the southwest approaches heading in towards either midnight on Friday. By midnight Saturday, that low is exiting away towards Norway. Further low pressures deepening in the Atlantic, though, later in the weekend, start of next week. Very cyclonic pattern. Lots of wet weather to come. That's day 10, last day of January. Looking very wet, windy gale force winds sweeping in from off the Atlantic then. Goodness gracious me. And it carries on right the way into the end of the GFS midnight run, really, which gets us to the 6th of January, by which time, just a hint maybe, pressure beginning to rise to our north and east. We've got the Siberian high up to 1,055 millibars there at its centre. into the south of Russia. No, maybe, beyond that, in towards the second week of February, we might start seeing things getting colder if that high pressure was to start pushing across Europe. It's a long way off, though. It's over 2 weeks away. This is how the GFS V2 is looking. Again, there's Storm Eowyn looking really nasty for Ireland and also for Scotland. All areas are going to be wet, windy, though, from that system, but the worst of the weather, I think, will be to the north and to the west. And then another deep low sweeping in from Sunday into Monday, that bringing further heavy rain and gale force winds in with it. We've got another low then packing in next Wednesday. Heading up toward day 9 and 10, we try and raise the heights a little bit to the south and the west, but still the low pressures keep coming out to the, try to raise heights, I should say, to the south and the east, but still the low pressures keep coming out to the north and the west. In the extended range with a GFS V2, very gradually into early February, we start to break out of the worst of the unsettled weather. Got an area of high pressure there across western Russia, 1,040 millibars. That's having a go at blocking off the Atlantic. And we've got some chilly air, but not especially cold air, sitting over the continent as well. Possibly we could be seeing a hint here of something colder and drier into the second week of February. Really long way off, though. If you're enjoying the video, please like, share, and subscribe. Thanks so much everyone for doing that. Why not drop a comment? Let's know what you think about this and all of our videos and content. Don't forget to tell your friends about GavsWeatherVids. Get them to subscribe too. Thanks so much everyone for doing that. We need to put on around 50 subscribers to get ourselves to 19.5k. Now, if you could give us a sub, tell your friends about to subscribe, that'd be absolutely awesome. Thanks so much everyone for doing that. Right, GM, again, with low pressure deepening to downward approaches from Friday into Saturday, brings severe gales with it. And then beyond that, we'll get a little bit of a break later Saturday into Sunday, but by the end of Sunday to Monday, more wet and windy weather sweeping in from off the Atlantic. And then through the course of next week, it stays unsettled. Another storm there to the west of Scotland around the end of next week. That could bring further severe gales to the north and quite a chilly sort of west-northwesterly flow with the gem as well, what we call cold zone acting. Can deliver quite a bit of snow to Scotland, but just a lot of cold, just a lot of cold rain further south. And then the ECM looks like that. So once more, best storm Eowyn to the southwest approaches, deepens like mad through the course of Friday into Saturday, bringing severe gales with it. And then another batching potentially in the early part of next week from that area of low pressure. That could bring further gales and more heavy rain as well. Another low around the middle part of next week. That doesn't look quite as stormy, but could bring a lot of wet weather in with it too. That's day 10. Still quite unsettled at that point. Just a hint again, but as we get into the beginning of February, we're trying to raise pressure a little bit. That's a mild reach though, and that's how long as we get to the end of the ECM run. Gets us to the 5th of February, and possibly again just a hint that we're breaking out of the stormy spell. So the stormy spell might only last a week or so through the final week of January. I'll have to wait and see whether this carries on into February or not. This is a precipitation forecast based on that ECM run from Tibet.com, so some showery bursts coming down next day or so. But the first band of wet weather comes across the country on Thursday. And then, of course, Friday is when we've got Storm Eowyn bringing heavy rain, potentially some heavy snow as well for northern areas with blizzards over Scottish hills and mountains, and the risk of gales or severe gales, maybe storm force winds as well. We're going to do a deep dive into that with high-res models this evening. Beyond that, into the weekend, well, rain, sleet, snow, wintry mix there over the weekend, then more wet weather packing in from Sunday into Monday, I'm afraid, and looking really wet through the early part of next week with lots and lots of heavy rain to come, and then more bouts of rain coming through the middle part of next week, snow mixed in with that up in the north as well, and the next batch of wet weather is threatened just to the west by day 10, 31st of January. And these are the options on the table within the ECM ensembles today for day 10 from the Icelandic Metals. Gets us to the last day of January, the 31st. 27 members of the ECM ensembles, including control of the operation run, just trying to build pressure pressure a little bit towards the southwest, but still quite a bit of low pressure coming in from off the Atlantic at that point. 11 with low pressure bringing lots of unsettled conditions with it. 9 with high pressure to the south, low pressure to the north. That's going to be pretty unsettled as well. And then a very tiny minority option of 4, looking more anticyclonic with high pressure from the Atlantic up to Scandinavia, which could bring in a cold east or northeast wind. But only 4 ensemble members doing that in 2 weeks' time. These are the options that we're going to get. If it'll change over, will it change over for us? Let's have a look. There we go. So this gets us to the 5th of February. Lots of options to get through as well. We've got 11 members of the ECM ensemble, including control operation run with higher pressure building to the south and to the east, lower pressure drifting away up towards Greenland, Iceland. So that's settling down. Should be pretty mild. Of course, good start to see frost and fog if we pull the wind in from off the continent. 10, still flat to pancake, low pressure to the north, high pressure is to the south, very westerly with that. We've got another 10 with high pressure towards Scandinavia, out into the Atlantic, winds coming in from the east. That could be dry and a bit colder. 8 down here with lots of low pressure dominating. That's going to be very unsettled. Could be a bit cold as well. Winds in from the northwest. 6 with low pressure in from the Atlantic. That's a continuation of the stormy pattern, really, I think. And then another 6 with low pressure over more to south of the country. High pressure towards Scandinavia. That's trying to get wind in from a colder easterly direction. So it looks unsettled, I think, at day 10. The onslaught will still be continuing then, most probably. As we get to day 14, which that's the last day of January, as we get to day 14, though, 15, we might be seeing into some higher pressure settling things down and breaking us out of the stormy spell. CFS V2, these are 500 millibar high times, breaking down into week periods. The first week period takes us from the 23rd to the 27th of January, but next week with deep low pressure in the Atlantic, so looking very unsettled, as we know, going to be stormy at the end of the week. Week 2 is the 28th of January to the 3rd of February. Low pressure just pulling back from us a little bit then. High pressure towards Scandinavia. That's almost getting wind into a colder easterly, but probably still relatively mild-ish with like a southerly southeasterly flow. Week 3 will be the 4th to the 10th of February. Low pressure in the Atlantic, keeping it unsettled. High pressure actually retreating back a little bit towards the west of Russia. And then week 4 will be the 11th to the 17th of February. Low pressure then weakening in the Atlantic as high pressure builds to the south and also to the northeast. So like a wall of high pressure developing. And where we go beyond that will be quite interesting, because if the high pressure is sort of pushing northwards, if this high pressure is lifting northwards into this high pressure, then eventually we might find a way into a colder pattern. But, you know, that would probably be mostly dry and relatively mild, as it is from the 11th, 17th of February. But where we go beyond that, you know, that could evolve into a colder pattern, or it could evolve into a very mild spring-like pattern. It'll be one to see where things go into the second half of February. But definitely signs of a bit of a pattern change there anyway. We break out of the stormy spell into February. Just have a quick look at Strat. Haven't looked at that for a little while, so we'll end with that. These blue colours, these are the cold temperatures at 10 HPA over the Arctic and North Pole. That is the stratospheric polar vortex, and we can see that over the next week or so, that really is maintained, a little bit displaced towards the Atlantic and northern European side of the pole, as it has been throughout most of the winter, but still well and truly in business. Right at the very end of GFS 6, there is a bit of a sign of a warming event starting to take place over Siberia, about 6th of February. Whether that will evolve into anything, whether it will fizzle out, you know, we can't say, because that's as far as the GFS goes. Up to that point, though, stratospheric polar vortex, the blue-purple colour, still well and truly maintained. Still, even then, So, no sign of an SSW, Southern Stratospheric Warming event, within the next couple of weeks on that GFS run. We will be doing episode 8 of Stratwatch tomorrow, and that will be released at midday. It will be a very, very interesting watch. So, make sure you check out episode 8 of Stratwatch tomorrow. Right, we're done. If you've enjoyed the video, please can you like, share, and subscribe. Make sure everyone for doing that. Drop a comment. Let's know what you think about this and all of our videos and content. Don't forget to tell your friends about GavsWeatherVids. Get them to subscribe too. Show us doing that. 50 subscribers gets us to 19.5k. And we thank you so much, everyone, for doing that. So we're going to be taking a deep dive, doing a little storm watch, or Atlantic storm watch, into Storm Eowyn. Anyway, we're going to be looking at the storm at around 7:30 this evening. So if you're interested in what might be happening in terms of the heavy rain and severe gales and whatnot at the end of the week, then make sure check out that. And then tomorrow we're going to have a 6 a.m. UK weather forecast. We will have episode 8 of Stratwatch, as I've already said. And then we're live at 6 p.m. That'll probably be, well, it'll be a 10 to 14 day, definitely. I'm sure we'll include, like, a bit of a mini storm watching that as well. So, all in all, an interesting day's content to come tomorrow. Keep checking back to the channel for more. For this one, though, that's all for now. Enjoy the rest of your Tuesday afternoon / evening. And maybe I'll see you a little bit later on. But for this one, that's all for now. And thanks for watching.